Keywords are a particularly flexible form of metadata, and in this video, you'll learn the basics of working with keywords in Lightroom. There are several ways to search for a specific image or images in Lightroom. You can scroll through a collection of thumbnails, like I'm doing right now, visually looking for the shot you want. You can also use the library filter and filter a large number of images by using so-called passive criteria that is automatically attached to an image file by a digital camera. And by that I mean here, focal length, shutter speed, aperture, ISO speed, and so on. You can also search by GPS location if your camera is capable of adding that information, or if you've used Lightroom's map module and added geotagging that way. And then there are keywords. Keywords are words that describe a particular aspect of an image. A keyword can be a general location like North America, or very specific such as Mendocino, California. It can be a subject such as baseball or wedding, a color such as aqua or blood red, and even an emotional description such as lonely, thrilling, awesome, etc. The point is, they are words, and they call in a different part of the brain, and they must be physically added by you. The good news is it's very easy to add keywords to an image file in Lightroom. The bad news is you have to leave the visual world behind and actually think of words that describe your image or images. For some, that's not a problem. For others, well, you know who you are, and I understand because I'm that way too. Just knowing that Lightroom can do it all makes your process easier and less painful. Let's see what I mean. Okay, so we're in the library module, and that's where we're going to add our keywords. You can also add keywords here when you import, over here under Apply During Import Keywords. But my suggestion is it's probably best to do the keywording when you're in the library module and you're actually looking at the individual images, because each one will have its own individual characteristic. So how do you add keywords in the library module? If you come over here to the right side panel, you see keywording. Let me go ahead and open that panel up. And you can see there are some options here. I'm going to click this little triangle, and this will give me the field where I can actually enter the keywords. And I haven't entered any keywords to any of these images, so this is going to be very fresh and new. And you'll see as we go along, as I add keywords, it's going to get easier and easier to add keywords to subsequent images. But let's go ahead and start with this first image here. So what am I looking at? I'm looking at a bridge, so I want to get that information in there, but there's some other information that I'm going to start off with. I want to say where it's located. So I'll start off by typing in the word Mendocino. Okay, and then I'm going to hit the return key, and that will add it as a keyword tag. Now I also want to add the word California, and hit the return key. And you can see the Lightroom has now added a comma between those words. Okay, let's keep describing this image. Well, I know that it was the Albion River Bridge. Notice you can use spaces. Okay, so now that's also added as a keyword, and it's alphabetized. You can see that. I'm going to keep adding some keywords. It's a wooden bridge. All right, return. And let's see, maybe we can add one more bit of information there. Let's just say it was shot in the spring. Okay, so now I've added keywords to this particular image, and I'm going to move over to the next image because this image now needs some keywords as well. So I'll click on that, and you'll see there's no keywords associated with that image. But now watch what's happening down here. This is where it starts to get really interesting as you add more and more keywords. I'm going to open up keyword suggestions, and I'm going to open up the keyword set. This information wasn't there before, but as I start adding keywords to one image, the keyword suggestions start to build up. So you can see a lot of these suggestions are pretty appropriate. I can certainly use Mendocino. Watch what happens when I click on that. Now that's added up here. Let me close the histogram so you can see better what's going on. I'm certainly going to add my name to it. I didn't add that before, but I want to associate my name in the keyword tag. And you notice that I hadn't typed my name in the earlier image. So where did that come from? So keyword suggestions, this is where it gets really pretty fancy, because what Lightroom is doing, it's basing its suggestions on a lot of different criteria. It must have picked up my name from the creator field in the metadata list and suggested that as a possibility for a keyword. And also it's suggesting these other words based on the image that is adjacent to this image. Wooden bridge. May be figuring, for example, that I would have another shot of a wooden bridge, since the previous image, or the adjacent image, is also a wooden bridge, and that's based on capture time. So these keyword suggestions are pretty smart. California, let's add that. And spring, it was definitely shot in the spring, but it was not shot at the Albion River, and it's not a wooden bridge, so I need to add some other information here. Let's say Pacific Ocean. Okay, again, we can use spaces, and when I hit the return key, it automatically adds that comma. If I want to, I can type directly up here in this field, but I need to add the commas myself. So I just added a comma. It's giving me all these suggestions automatically now. It really does try to help. Let me type in crashing surf. That will be a new one, and I need to put a comma now. So I think it's a little bit easier just to click right here and add the keywords. All right, so you're getting the idea now. Let's move on to the next image. And now we have a new image with no keywords, but notice the keyword suggestions. These have now expanded because we have more keywords to work with. So I'm going to go ahead and just click California, and certainly Pacific Ocean, Mendocino. Now it gets pretty quick. Add my name, it's spring. Well, we don't have crashing surf there, so we're going to add something like, boy running as a keyword. And that's added automatically. Now I want to show you something else. Besides using keyword suggestions, which you can see are pretty awesome, and they just get better and better and better as you add more keywords. Under keyword set, now this keyword set can either be recent keywords, which you find up here, but it also can be a set. For example, outdoor photography. These are just words that are associated with outdoor photography. Landscape, macro, flowers, wildlife, people, winter, summer. There's other categories, portrait photography. Now these would be words that would be appropriate for portraits. And these are words that are appropriate to a wedding. And we can create our own keyword set here. Just type in the words that are appropriate, and then once you're ready, you just give it a name, and you've created your own keyword set. So as you do more and more keywording, it gets easier and easier and easier. So let me now scroll down, because we're not done yet. There's even more to this whole thing, and that's under the keyword list. So if I open up the keyword list, all these keywords now have been added as I typed along, and there's a lot of information here. Let me go ahead, and I'm selecting one image. And this is telling me that boy running is selected. Albion River Bridge is not. If I wanted to add that keyword, this is another way to add keywords. I could just click in this box here and that word would be added. Furthermore, if you look over here to the right and you see that arrow, if I click on that arrow, I'm going to engage a filter that will only bring up the images that have that criteria, that keyword associated with it, California. So I'll go ahead and do that. And now you can see how it's engaged the library filter and chosen the word California, which is also, by the way, now part of the library filter under keyword. And let's go ahead and turn that off and get all the images back that were there before. I need to go into my collections and find those images. There we go. So you thought there was enough ways to add a keyword to an image. Well, I'm not done yet. Let's go ahead and select another image. I'll go ahead and select this one here. Now look down here in the toolbar. You see this little spray can? Watch what happens when I click on that. I can now spray paint a keyword directly onto one image or multiple images. I can also paint labels, flags, and ratings. Watch this. I'll go ahead and show you an example. So I can choose a rating, let's say 5 stars, come up, see the spray can, and if I click on the image now, it's giving that image 5 stars, and I can go through really quickly and I can just spray away and add ratings. Well, we don't only have to use ratings. Let's go back up to keywords, and notice how Mendocino is now in this field. And I can now, let's say all these images are shot in Mendocino, so this would be really easy. I just go through and I'm adding Mendocino to every one of these images. It's just, I mean, it's amazing. And if I wanted, I could add multiple words as well. So this is the absolute beauty of Lightroom. There's just so many different ways to do the same thing. You just need to find the way that you're most comfortable with. All right, so once you have your images keyworded, as I showed you under the keyword list, that's one way to find images that have names associated with them or keywords associated with them. I've also pointed out that up here under the metadata option in the library filter, if you choose keyword, all your different keywords will show up here. So there's a couple ways you can search for images in your catalog based on the keywords. What happens if you want to send a keyword out into the world with your image or images? Well, that's going to be done over here. When you go to export, let me go ahead and put the spray can back where it belongs by just clicking in that little dot there, and I'm going to select export. Now when you go to export and you want to select under the metadata, you want to include all the metadata, and now that those keywords will go out with your JPEG or TIFF or PSD file, or if you're exporting to a RAW file or DNG file, they'll also associate now with these keywords that you put into the metadata. Now, if you want those keywords to be as a Lightroom hierarchy, you just go ahead and select that. And I'm going to come back and show you what that means in a second. But that's not necessary, and in fact, with some applications, they may have trouble reading that hierarchy. That's why it's deselected by default. If you don't want that metadata to go out, then you make one of the other selections, copyright only, or copyright and contact information only, etc., or all except camera and camera raw info. But if you want the keywords to exist with your images that are exported, be sure to select all metadata. I'm going to hit cancel. Now, what I meant by the hierarchy, over here under the keyword list, you can organize images hierarchically in the keyword list. So if I drag this and drop it onto the Albion River Bridge, now it becomes a subset of that. And you see how that works. You can just organize things better that way and then collapse them, and you won't have so many words under the keyword list to scroll through. Of course, you can also filter up here if you have so many words that you can't find a particular word. You just type in the name and it'll automatically take you to that. I just want to show you one more thing since I'm on the keyword list. If you right-click on the word here in the list, there's all these different options, including delete if you want to get rid of words that you're not using. So this is a lot to chew on, but I have just two more things that I want to point out. What if you want to streamline the process and you have one keyword that you want to apply to multiple images? Well, it's very easy. You make a selection of images, which I've done now, and I can sync the metadata if I want, let's say, all the keywords to be the same. Or I come up here under keywording and see all this information. Now these asterisks are telling me that a tag is applied to only some of the selected photos. But I want to now apply a word to all of these at once. So I'm going to go ahead down. I'm going to pick my outdoor photography keyword set. And let me just pick a word, landscape. Now I'm going to click on landscape, and landscape will be applied to all these images now. And you can see it doesn't have an asterisk, which means it's applied to all the images. Okay, and I said there was one more thing. The last thing I want to talk about is how to push this information, this keyword information, out to the original files. Right now, these keywords exist in the Lightroom catalog. And that's the only place they exist until you go to export the images, as I showed you. Then you can push the information onto a exported image. If you want the information, the keyword information, to be associated with the original file, you need to push that data out to the file. And it's a really simple way to do it. All you have to do is use the Command or Control S key. And you can see the prompt that comes up here, save metadata to files. So this is now pushing that information out onto the original file. Now, if it's a RAW file, you can't write into the RAW file, but it'll create a sidecar with all that information attached to it. And it will write into the JPEG or the TIFF or the PNG or PSD and DNG files directly. So you'll have all that information right there. So that's just something, if you want to make sure you have that, the keywords associated with the original files, be sure to push that information with all the other metadata out onto the original file. Otherwise, it just exists in the Lightroom catalog itself. Okay, so that's a lot of information about keywording. There is a lot to know about keywording, and this has been really, if you can believe it, just been very much a general introduction to keywording. But once you get the hang of it, once you start doing it, and the more you do it, the easier it will get. And then you'll have this great opportunity to find any image you want at any time quickly, just by typing in the keyword. It's really great.